Want to talk about something specific?
Yes. What is the effect of marijuana on your ability to connect to intuition and instinct, or even higher self? Same thing.
Anything that diffuses your focus has the potential of making you more allowing. So it could affect you vibrationally in the sense that if it mellows you out and causes you to stop beating up on yourself and others, it could cause a turning in the stream effect. But the same diffusion of focus, and it depends on how you feel about it. In other words, if it makes you feel uncomfortable because it's illegal, then it causes you to go upstream. If it makes you feel guarded because it's hard to get or could potentially cause you trouble, in other words, you have to know by the way you feel. We teach meditation as the same turning in the stream, but many marijuana users are not in agreement that it's as much fun. Which brings us to another point. We've never seen anyone achieve enlightenment through marijuana.
Yeah.
Because the same diffusion of focus that causes them to offer less resistance also keeps them from being able to focus as powerfully in the direction of what they do want. It's a sort of watering down of experience. It's sort of like we encourage, meditation is a really good bridge to, let's say you've been beating the drum of something and it's something that you don't want that makes you feel negative, and you think, well, I should think a more positive thought about that, but there are no positive thoughts about that active anywhere within you because you've been beating that negative drum for so long that it's like you're setting your radio dial on 106 and trying to hear what's being broadcast on 98. The frequencies are so far apart. So it's easier to quiet your mind than it is to find a pure positive thought about the same subject. Just like it is easier to utilize marijuana or some substance to cause you to diffuse your negative focus. But the disadvantage of both the marijuana and the meditation is that once you come out of it, it's logical that you're going to pick up the drum and start beating it right where it was. And that's why we are encouraging a deliberate choice by choice turning in the stream, because that way you affect lasting choices. If 100 times today you deliberately choose something that feels better, you have affected your vibrational point of attraction. You just have. So the people, the experiences, and even the thoughts that you now have access to by law of attraction have shifted. Where it's like when you go to sleep at night, let's say you're worried, so you're negatively attracting, you go to sleep. While you slumber, you stop your negative attraction because you withdraw your focus. But when you wake up, very good odds that you're going to pick up right where you left off because while you slumbered, you weren't doing anything about improving your... So that's why we would say 10 or 15 minutes of deliberately focusing in the direction of what feels good is far more effective than sleeping or meditating or using some drug that just takes you out of the game, so to speak, temporarily. It gives you relief, it just doesn't affect your vibration. That's the answer. And relief is worth something.
Wow. Thank you. Is there anything that you wanted to share with me?
Your vibrational escrow is full of all of the things that you've wanted, and much of it, if you were to see it today, you wouldn't even be able to identify it as yours because it is a combination of so many things that you've been asking for incrementally. In other words, Source knows even more clearly and powerfully what you've been asking for than you could sit and articulate right now. We've seen it, and it is magnificent. So our encouragement to you, this is coming specifically from your inner being who is infinitely aware of everything that you're asking for. Be easy about it. Be easier on yourself. Don't let others who don't know what they're talking about, and they don't, in relationship to what you should be doing, don't let them be the last word or the middle word or the beginning word or any word. Disregard the peanut gallery and give your undivided attention to your awareness of where you are in relationship to what you're being called toward. Understand that you're not being called toward something that is separate from you. There's not something that you're supposed to do. Every bit of it you have put. You're on track, you're on schedule, nothing's gone wrong, everything's all right. It's time for you to start enjoying your journey.
I'm sort of an anxious guy, and my mind races like constantly, and it's just thought after thought after thought after thought, right? And
thoughts are good. Anxious thoughts are outside the vortex thoughts. Anxious thoughts are competing with thoughts of well-being, but they're also giving birth to even better thoughts of well-being. So some step one anxious thoughts are all right, just don't make a career out of it.
Right. I feel like it's a constant tending to myself.
Oh,
sometimes.
so you have made a career out of it.
Okay. So I work at getting in the vortex, and I do try and make that my main job. I guess my question is sort of strange. I feel like sometimes, like Jerry told a story once about a guy that just drank beer all the time, and I'm not saying I'm going to go that route and join the circus and drink beer all the time, but sometimes when I have a beer, I can relax a little bit more, and it's kind of I can line up a little easier. I can get in the vortex easier. So,
have you identified the vibrational reason for that? Not the alcoholic stupor reason.
Right. No, it's like it relaxes me.
But what is the vibrational reason that the substance makes you feel like you have easier access to the vortex? It diffuses your thought. You're focusing less specifically.
Right.
And so here's the thing. If you are chronically focusing on things that bother you, and then you drink something that makes you less focused upon what's bothering you, then you have temporarily suspended your vibration that is holding you out of the vortex, and in you go.
Right. Feels good.
So let's redefine the vortex. The vortex is where the source within you is, where Abraham is, where your inner being is, where that which is God is, and where all drunks are. Well, that's not quite true, is it? Sort of started out that way, though, didn't it? In other words, the vortex is where compatible components are. So in some ways, we want to say to you, whatever it takes for you to be a compatible component, which is the same thing as saying, whatever it takes for you to stop beating the drum of what you don't want.
Right.
We don't think that that's necessarily the best way in, but we'll take any way you can figure out.
Okay, because that's really the next part of my question is, if that's the way I choose to get in there, and I don't have split energy about it, and I'm not saying, I shouldn't be having this to drink, and I'm just sort of,
But
my question is, how does it affect my vibration?
What happens when you sober up inside the vortex? That was funny, by the way. What happens when you sober up inside the vortex? This is the thing that's tricky about it, is that if you have drunk your way in, and then the effects of the alcohol wear off, and your thought processes have not been deliberately changed to be up to speed. Now, as you sober up, you're going to find your vibration right where you last left it. And so, as you sober up, you're going to come back into the same vibration that you were in, and the vortex is going to throw you out.
Right, and that's when you just open another beer.
So what do you think? So what do you think about this? Well, here's really something wonderful.
It's temporary.
Get in the vortex and then drink.
That's good.
Rather than using the alcohol as the way in, use your power of focus to get in, and then follow whatever inspiration comes.
That's good.
And therein answers the age-old question, why are there happy drunks and mean drunks?
Right. Thank you.
So we've been toying with you a great deal, and we've been laying a lot of groundwork for this very groundbreaking question. So now where are you in this? In other words, Are we advocating drinking? Not really. Are we advocating for or against anything? No, we really are not. Are we advocating you lining up with who you are? Certainly. And we are encouraging you to follow whatever path of least resistance you can find.
Yes.
This we know for sure. You cannot badger someone into the vortex. You cannot humiliate someone into the vortex. You cannot punish someone into the vortex. In other words, the only way you can call someone into the vortex is first of all to be in there and to see them in a way that calls them in, you see. And so I just wanted to get that in there, that sometimes we think you're too hard on yourselves. So what else do you want to talk about? Or do you want to talk more about that?
Well, no, that answers my question around that. And I like this concept of getting in the vortex and then thinking about things, because that makes things much clearer, because sometimes outside of it, it's confusing, and I'd never heard it that way until
So let's
today.
consider this. So when you go to sleep at night, whatever's going on in your mind is what's going on. And then you manage to quiet your mind enough that you reemerge into non-physical. That's what your slumber is. When you reemerge into non-physical, the non-physical part of you dominates. In other words, it's like joining that vibration that is really you. But the physical part of you, that active vibration of you, remains right where it was when you went to sleep. And when you wake up, you'll be right where you were. In other words, if you go to sleep in the vortex, you'll wake up in the vortex. If you go to sleep not in the vortex, you'll wake up not in the vortex. So one of the reasons that we teach meditation, we talked about it already here today, is that when you meditate and therefore you are awake, not asleep, and therefore conscious, and therefore attracting, when you deliberately quiet your mind, you get to feel the visceral sensation of resistance leaving and alignment coming into place. That's why we encourage meditation rather than taking a nap. Because when you take a nap, you don't move your vibration. But when you meditate, you raise your vibration, and when you come out of meditation, your vibration is now in that higher place. So now let's get back to this vortex concept, because meditation is the way into the vortex. So however you got in there, now the next thing is to be consciously aware that you are in there. That is really a component to this seminar that we have not really discussed fully enough. We want you to realize that when you get in there, no matter how you got in there, milk it. Try to stay in there longer. Esther has been taking the deck of Money and the Law of Attraction cards because she likes the artwork so much. And when she knows she's in the vortex, she will milk it with everything she's got. Look through a deck of cards, look through a photo album of people that she loves. In other words, take a walk down memory lane. Sometimes they'll just stumble, or so it seems. There's never any stumbling because law of attraction is always accurate. But it feels like they've stumbled into a particularly appreciative moment. And the two of them will stop and just dissect what it is about this moment that makes this moment feel so good. Why is this room so appealing, Esther will say. Well, in this room, it's easy to identify. Look at these chandeliers. This is really an exceptionally beautiful meeting room. So, and as she walked in, she looked at them. She could not stop looking at them. In other words, they don't rattle when the air conditioning comes on. They're silent and yet beautiful. They give off enough light that everyone in the room can see everyone in the room. Enough light that the camera can pick up the images that it wants to comfortably. What is it about this room? It feels like a good size and a good shape. In other words, the platform is a little higher than usual, which gives a little better vantage point. The temperature in this room has remained right where they have asked them to hold it at 70 degrees because they find that to be most comfortable for most people. In other words, this is the reason that I like this room so much. This is the reason. These are the reasons. And as you focus with an eye to understanding why this feels so good, why does this feel so good? Now, often you find yourself not in the vortex wanting to define why does this feel so bad? What's wrong with this meal? What happened? What were they thinking? How could they have put this together? Who's in the kitchen? Who's minding the store? In other words, you can affirm from outside the vortex or inside the vortex. We just want to alert you to the benefit of doing 100% of your deliberate affirming or restating or practicing the vibration of, or making a vibration that's just active, making it longer active till it's dominant, then keeping it dominant till it's chronic, until it's the easiest vibration vibration defined. In other words, practice yourself into alignment with who you are, and then begin to live life as you're viewing it through the eyes of Source.